Good afternoon, and thank you for coming to this screening. As I was saying before, I've been wanting to bring that other cinema or underground cinema to Sag Harbor for a while, and I always thought that the first filmmaker I would have out here would be Ernie Gehr. And I called him in the summer, and I was thrilled when he said, yes, I would like to participate. And I was even more thrilled when I came back from a trip, and he said, "I have a program for you. Come and see it." And it was a surprise, a very good surprise that he selected some very recent work which I hadn't seen before. So it was a discovery for me as well. And I want to introduce to Ernie Gehr. He will be with us after the screening for a Q&A. But right now, please help me welcome him.
Thank you, Giulia, first of all, for inviting me. It's you can hear me? Yeah? Okay, all right. That's too bad. I was hoping that nobody would hear me. Then I could say whatever I wanted to, and you won't have to contradict me. But no, seriously, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's very interesting day for me, watching all these works that preceded, and thank you. Let's see, as an introduction, you know, some of you are familiar with some of my work. If anybody wants to sit, you can go ahead. Okay. As an introduction, what I would like to ask you, if you want, introductions are a problem for me all the time. But on this occasion, I will give you an introduction of sorts. The first thing I would like you to do, which is very hard, really hard, is for temporarily suspend your ideas about cinema, the movies, and whatever other word you want to use. And consider the present, where you are, and a perspective you have of this huge screen and the rectangle that comes onto that screen. Think of it as there are 4 borders with no extensions whatsoever. An image starts at that border and it ends here. And if a shape moves past it, it's not going out and continuing walking or flying or anything. Same thing, an image starts here, there is no bottom and nothing beyond the top of the rectangle. What is it like? Here we will have either sometimes, no, all the pieces are rectangular shaped rectangles. And what is a character of that, as opposed to, let's say, a circle, if we had that, or a square, or a 3x4 rectangle. There are different personalities, like a person with a certain shape as opposed, let's say, take from the movies Lauren Hardy. You know, their body shapes, they're informing you a lot, an enormous a lot. And here you should consider what this rectangle that we have here is. The other thing is we are very much conditioned by drawings, by photography in general, whatever medium that may be, to immediately associate the image, even if it's abstract, with life, our life experience of those shapes, and we give it extensions. But try not to think about that. you know, it's flat, or what we call in art school, two-dimensional. And appreciate not only the shape, but the fact that it's a surface, a flat surface. Then as soon as you throw, if you work with color, two colors, say red and blue, and they're already declaring space, a space that doesn't exist there. It's in your mind. And that's really a phenomenal factor. And there are individuals, whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter. Artists, filmmakers, garbage collectors, or whatever, that will consider that and work with that. An image may declare space when you know it's flat, and then it flattens out in some ways. And there are all kinds of plays that take place. When I work, I am very much conscious of that rectangle. You know, also like the corners of the rectangle. Here, they're like, I believe, straight angular, corners, perpendicular. But sometimes they're rounded. What does it do to the character of the image and to the content itself, pictorially? That's also a hell of a lot. There's also the final thing, and then I'll shut my mouth. The image is physically present here. Although present here, it's a misnomer in a place with a lot of assumptions. But, and it's, yet you can see it. You can say, oh, it's right there, da, 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 da. It shakes, okay. But the sound, where is it coming from? Can you see the sound? Not, and then what is the relationship between the two? Keep that in mind. There are plays between those elements. And have fun. I'll be here. Oh, yeah. I'll be here after the screening, and I'll be more than glad to engage you on whatever problems you have with the work, or whatever. On this particular occasion, I may say some things and not say some other things. So I apologize, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Ernie.
Great audience, really fantastic. It was so much, it was so quiet. I felt I was in, there was some cracks and stuff like that. But I felt it was a beautiful soundtrack for the last piece. And it's so, for me, so informative of so many things. I'm 83, so I'm not a young kid like you, or most of you are under 80. Or maybe all of you, but also the ephemeral quality of the medium I work with at this point, digital media. What is it? Don't tell me it's the memory card, which used to be referred for a long time as solid memory of solid state. And I always found it very amusing, this little thing which you're all familiar with, but you all have iPhones, and you can talk, reach phenomena, information, or people that you know. There are thousands of miles away. Working with this is so different from working with paint, sculpture, or some other object that you can handle in your hand. And also, and then embedded in all that, in terms of what I do, is the fact that I'm slowly, maybe not so slowly anymore, fading. And I'm conscious also of time. And to repeat, in case I didn't say it, this bizarre phenomena that you have on screen, I'm always conscious of the space that I work with, no matter how abstract, like in the last. There are indications, snippets, as I pick them up in my brain. That's what I'm trying to capture and project. Not just, oh, it's a tree over there, but this phenomena, of a tree. And it can be very abstract. It's, where is it taking place? Somewhere in the back of my cranium, while I'm conscious, alive. And what does that mean? And again, it's a play between mediums and trying to do something that has to do with living, perceiving, responding with all my senses to the things that are there, including this camera, if you wish, and moving it somehow, always very sensitive to the rectangle and the phenomena that's taking place. And when I say how things disappear, it's also creating this phenomena, which I think I might have picked up from childhood in a way, without thinking about it. One experience I had a long time ago, again, possibly about 80 years ago, when I was, let's say, I'm now 83, so you can figure out what I'm talking about. One day, I was handed a drawing. A sheet of paper with an outline, simple outline of a landscape. And that came along with a little jar with water, a brush, and a little set of watercolors. And we were informed, I guess in preschool, to fill these different shapes with the different colors that seem appropriate for the representational shape. Sun, yellow or orange, et cetera, et cetera. And I wasn't defiant. I was definitely willing to do that. So I took a brush, and I didn't tip it a little bit into the water, but I really dunk it into the water. So I picked up too much water. I had no training. I hadn't done it before. And then I put it on one of the watercolor squares and mixed it a little bit and moved it over to the paper. Well, it was too soggy, too wet. So as I moved that over to the paper, it dripped over the paper. And it created, almost immediately, this smooth piece of paper had these lunar craters. But I was also concerned, because with all these drips of whatever color I had picked. So I was shocked, embarrassed that I'd done that because of my ineptness, you might say. But then as I kept looking at that piece of paper, I said, it's actually interesting. I transformed that white piece of paper with some outlines in black into the colors, the color drops on the paper. So it's the craters and the colors. So I went to another dip into the water and carry it over to a different color. And now very consciously, I did this, like a Jackson Pollock painting, like dropping paint, and to hell, whatever happens, you play with a chance. Ooh, chance. Okay. Then I liked it. And it was my first experience of trying to feel things out, not by conditioning or being told how to do it, but through response, how I feel, how all my senses are responding to things. And of course I forgot about it, but not really, because occasionally, and then when I began to work in 1966, 67 with film, and first I did what I had seen on screen, in the work of that David mentioned earlier, Anticipation of the Night by Brakhage. But eventually I realized I was unhappy with that. That's not me. And when I began to work with so-called 16 millimeter, which has its own character. It's not 35, it's not 8, it's not 9.5 or 27.5 millimeter, or all the other gauges that went, just like with video or this other more recent technology that has gone and continues to change. Not because people want that, but because you come up with another little trick, and people will have to buy that computer or camera or whatever in order, so that some people become billionaires in that process very quickly. The only problem with that, and this is also like a thing that is a concern to me in a way, in the way I do things. I do think about that, and I work intuitively, is that any format does not stay there often with digital long enough to reflect upon what is possible with it, rather than just learning how to use it and say, oh, I have mastered. Now I can just press a button and I don't know, I get my meals delivered. I'm being silly about that, but that's really where it comes from, making money. And that was true for other forms. And then there's other developments, social, political, industrial, economic, which make changes. And I think I consider those things. A simple work in that respect is the first one, High Wire Act. You can immediately know that's not what's, I created a trick. I turned the film upside down. There's no way you can put a line, some clothes on a clothesline and have a shirt, a T-shirt, seem to be balancing on a high wire, that's impossible. But the pants, they're standing upside down. There's a contradiction there too. And so that what I did, it's up already there. I don't have to turn the image around to tell you, from experience. I flip the film, no, the digital camera. But you could have figured it out even with film. You just turn it around. I like that. But there's more. There's also, in that image, for me, the human struggle of existence making something that's worthwhile out of your existence. It's one half is up, the other one is upside down. It's amusing and it's, sad. And I just let it stay there. I don't touch it. I just straight recording, so that you viewers and viewers elsewhere who look at this and give the piece some time will see just how much it reflects our existence. We work and then find out somebody's going to take away your Social Security, whatever. Yeah. So I respond to existence, to being in the world, the spaces I'm surrounded by. Carroll Gardens is where I live in Brooklyn, I took a train to Boston. I wasn't planning to make that film. I had been invited for a class presentation at Harvard, and but I knew I didn't have too much time because I also had to come back to New York. I had some doctor appointments or something, and but I said I'll take the camera with me. When we got out of the tunnel from Penn Station, and I began to see these buildings there, something told me, pick up the camera, get it out of your bag. And I did. I work with a small camera at this point, too old to work with heavy equipment or large. I like small things. And I considered the rectangle. It's not, I could turn it around, but no, I like the rectangles, and I began to film as at the beginning of the film. That's the beginning of the piece, really. There are all these horizons, so they rhyme with a rectangle, with a shape of the screen. And in time, it changes. And to start with, you see the cables, graffiti on the walls, and that's all part of, our daily life. No way to get away from it. And I like that. And then it started to change as the ground level of the street stays there, but the train moves lower towards not a tunnel, but kind of a pathway, and you start to see bits and pieces of grass, stone, dirt, whatever. But if you look at it, you can say, it's the ground around the train. But you can also look at it and you start seeing the image has changed from metallic factors or wires to ground. But no, it's like a kind of an abstract painting in a way, and I get into that. Then we move out and go through different series where I just it's a straight recording. I follow the image as I can with the camera as we're going through. The sound in the film was recorded synchronous, and it didn't move a damn bit of the sound. Easy to do, but I liked it. It gave me a background in a way that I needed, something that sounded concrete. The tracks, then the voices, they were interesting. And I don't start to play with the image, if you wish. until something happens. There are horizontals, and suddenly, I guess the train went over some kind of a bump, and my camera, my holding the image, dropped, and I picked up on that. And then you have the so-called image of reality, if you wish to think about it, becoming this whole play, going up and down, horizontals going up and down. And then when houses start to appear, I shift the other way. I go, so it's counter to the landscape that is passing me. So I'm responding, and I listen to the conductor telling us where we're going, what we can buy, I thought, and I was working with and against it. Like, you want popcorn? No, we don't carry any popcorn, but we got potato chips or whatever, and I loved it, and my decisions with what to do with the camera was responding. No, not counter to it, but responding to the sound, which was giving you a whole other image, a whole other world than the one I was playing with. It's in counterpoint, and I liked that orchestration, but I haven't let you talk. I'm just talking, rambling around. So maybe my apologies.
You mentioned the word fading before. There is nothing fading in this work, and particularly one of my favorite one is the last one is Carroll Gardens, because
Yes.
it has a physical energy. Mm-hmm. To it that is just overwhelming and a beauty.
I'm surprised at my age I can do it. When I work, there's this horrible thing that takes place. It's this passion, involvement with what you're doing, and you forget whether you're in danger of some kind, like physical, because I'm making decisions from moment to moment according to what is happening. And if I don't like a passage, if I think it's not working for me, I delete. Otherwise, it stays. That second film, what was it, by rail? There's possibly 3 or 4 minutes that were cut altogether. So it's all basically the way you see. And I want to apologize. It ended, and I said, the tape. The projectionist, thank you. You were terrific. Thank you very much. I forgot your name, but thank you.
Sarah.
What?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. Really wonderful projectionist.
Very wonderful.
Yes, yeah. And also the sound level was terrific. Thank you. I didn't want it to overwhelm, People often get loud, I use loud sound occasionally myself too, but not for these works. I felt there was so much happening that if you shift your eyes, if you don't stare and look at the whole canvas, try to take in this piece, that. You look over here, everything else has changed. So you shift over there, and this is gone. And that play is experience, immediate sensory experience, is, for me, a delight. And that's what I work with. I don't think of, you being there. But at the same time, I have to say, I know I'm going off, but I guess there might be a student of mine here, a former student, but Okay. I do this all the time. But in working, let me get back there. When I work, I don't know what is happening to my physical. It's between what's happening in my head as I'm responding. My nerves, the ends of my hand, and everything else, it's all going to the brain. Even I touch this, I wouldn't know I'm touching something. I wouldn't feel this unless the nerves from my hand can carry the information to my brain. How the brain does it is a mystery to me, but I love it. And it's a part of being conscious, alive, and that's what I'm interested in. And it's the medium, this medium that is not static. It's always changing. And this is what I'm interested in. And that's also the way things, we are limited in life by how long our heart, if nothing else goes wrong, will keep pumping and aging. There's a time when you start losing your wits, or slow down. I have to watch it at this point, But and I wanted to say something, and I lost it. I'm sorry. But any...
Do you have any question if you want to raise your... There's
Yes.
Andrea there.
See, like when I look at you, I'll get to you in a second, okay? What do I pick? As I look, after I see you, and then I look at, what's your name? Whatever your name is. I see blonde hair, skin, whatever color, the black top of your dress. And then I move over here, and I pick up the folds on your blue jacket. And while I may not see your face as I shift, I see that those folds and the shape of them and the color and how the light is falling behind you and in front of you, or when I look at any other part of you. And your whole being is coming through in some ways that I have picked up a minute earlier. And I'm interested in just that gesture, like in Carroll Gardens, where but let me, there was a question, go ahead.
I forgot my question. No, thank you, Ernie. First of all, I'm glad you told the story from your childhood of that painting.
Yeah.
Because what I get from your work is this sort of perceptual, it's like perceptual psychology, and maybe the way that you see, the way that the eye
I am
sees.
trying, from the beginning, in terms of making, I make things in order to have a sense of balance, survive, not having to go to a psychologist or a therapist. In working, helps me, helps me move through time and find meanings, to go on and believe in humanity. Otherwise, all you have to do is pick up the newspapers, irrespective of what it says and where it's happening. It's full of horrors. And if it's not reported on one day or another day, it's just somebody missed it, or the paper didn't decided, let's skip this because it's just too much, Can you imagine being a reporter for a newspaper? I was thinking about it in this year, more than ever before. And it must be horrible. A reporter who reports about what's going on in the world and working with it. You have to live with that 24 hours a day, even when you go to sleep, because your brain keeps thinking about the things that you have been talking about, witnessing, writing about, and
Well, you
so
took us
making
out of that
something,
reality.
anybody can do it, and there are multiple ways that there can be satisfaction. Cooking a meal, it can be pleasure, not just filling your stomach because you're hungry, but making something and watching it being transformed is wonderful. Building a bridge, or doing something else, helping people in other ways, which in some cases, like if you're a doctor, can be quite trying, So you have to have something that will be positive to go on. And making works, for me, has been very, very helpful. That's how it began, really. I was in New York. I was working in an accounting office, looking at numbers from 0 to 9, from 1, 2, 3, in any order combination you want to. On Columbus Circle, building isn't there now. No, it's Time Warner buildings, on the 23rd floor. In an accounting office I worked, and I was miserable. And then I walked out on a rainy day, trying to took shelter in a building, and there it said, some films, and it changed my life. I knew I could work. Not for any other reason.
I also have a question.
Oh yeah.
How
okay.
do you decide to choose the colors?
I'm sorry.
How do you decide the colors? Which colors are you using for the films?
I'm sorry. What did I say? For what?
No, how do you decide which color palette to go for in the film? Which color dominates the film?
Most of the time, okay. In a very general term, very general, I love black and white. And the reason I love black and white is because it's all a gradation of grays, lighter, darker, from white to black. And the pictorial space is unified. You're just working with black, gradations of black and white. As soon as you use color, you're breaking up the plane. This is within one frame or a shot or a movie. And when you cut, and, you understand that, right? But just in case, the color, a red has a different presence in space and also the way we respond to it. It's complicated. And if you have a blue, it's receding. And so you're creating space and also evoking many, many things, including the individual looking at the painting or the frame or whatever, because it's, we all respond differently to these different colors. Even green, what does it mean, to each individual? Something else, But I also had pleasure, so that it doesn't become just one-sided. In my late teens, I guess, in reading certain writers. Gertrude Stein was the prime example of that. The way she would play with, some, not all her writing, but in some of it, I could spend a whole week reading over and over, linearly, let's say, a page of her writing, and then what I could do to not move to the next page is read it from the bottom to the top, because it's the same thing. You're playing with meaning, with sound, and it's wonderful. It's like a rose is a rose is a rose. I mean, there's already the circular language that's taking place. It's creating something. Louis Zukovsky's, what was it called? A shadow is a shadow, and just find it. So that was also pleasure. This is before I began to work. So in different mediums, I would find people working with this, creating, possibilities. I work with the moving image. That's my medium. I like it, and I'm glad.
We have time for one more, because we have a movie at 5:30. I'm so sorry. I'll ask a question then.
Okay.
The last film, I want to go back to Carroll Gardens. Why did you decide no sound there, complete silence?
I was going to put this down. So initially, I was thinking of recording a sound for it separately, because by doing what I did, which an emphasis on motion was too much. Everything was moving, and I didn't want that. But then as I was so-called editing, and that's a problem when you think of it, for those who work with film or digital editing, you just snip something out that you don't like, rather than composing. And that's what I do. I like music. I love music. My favorite, Johann Sebastian Bach. I possibly have heard by now over 200 times Glenn Gould's The Goldberg Variations. I almost know it by heart. But of course I couldn't never play it, But and I know people criticize him. He said, "Oh, you sound more like Gould rather than Bach," The second recording, not the first one, second, before he died in the 80s. It's amazing. No, I didn't respond to your question.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank
but
you.
It was very clear. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
sorry I have to rush this.
Thank you. All right.